This is a podcast from the Daughters to Online Radio Company. There are some terms and conditions regarding its use. Probably. We hope you enjoy it, and if you do, maybe you would enjoy other podcasts. Welcome to the Daughters to Online Radio Company.
Hello and welcome to the DORC podcast. The cardigan is the natural enemy of the slogan t-shirt. So, how are we all? There was no podcast last week because instead of recording this 10 minutes of nonsense, I went to visit my new nephew instead. I think I can be let off for that. Whilst I was away, however, I did invent a new word. Would you like to hear it? Of course you would. Although do cover the ears of any children you have present. The word is Cuntenstein. It means a person who seems to be formed from all of the minor irritations and bits that you hate in others. We really are earning the explicit tag this week. We shall, of course, do a hello to a listener. Hello to you if you listen in Yeovil in England. All right, my lover? I can almost wave at you from here. Welcome along. So this week we have some stories from the news for your delectation. Not sure if that's the right word here, but let's go with it anyway. Some of them are from last week's show, or what would have been last week's show, and at least one is from this week's news. So here is the news. Hello and welcome to the DORC News. David Cameron made his much-trailed and long-awaited by not many people speech on Europe and Britain's relationship with that excellent place a couple of weeks ago. And during it, he showed that he has mind control powers. That, or it is possible that he is a witch. During his cliché-ridden dirge, he said that Britain would have a simple referendum on whether to leave the EU or to stay in it. This was greeted by the right-wing press and the right of his Conservative Party as if he had descended from the mountain, stone tablets in hand, and pronounced, "I have spoken with God, and he has confirmed that we are his chosen people, and it is definitely not the French or the Germans." However, this was not what he actually said. Either he used his mind control powers as suggested earlier, or his message was spun by the press and the party people who are concerned that the right-wing Conservatives will split over Europe. This is, of course, a traditional Tory problem, like the desire to privatise things, the love of workhouses, the hatred of the poor, and making a massive profit out of anything you possibly can, especially if it's public money. But now, disgruntled, really right-wing Tories have somewhere to go. Step forward the United Kingdom Independence Party and their leader, Nigel Farage, whose name is French. A party that fails to realise that the UK is a political union much like the one they campaigned for the UK to leave, just smaller. They have no MPs, yet the Tory fear of a split over Europe is so great that he seems to be driving the political narrative of a party to which he does not belong. What Mr Cameron actually said was, we will have a referendum if, and it is a big if, he is able to negotiate changes. That he failed to specify. To parts of various agreements that he also failed to specify. And if the Tories win an election as a single ruling party rather than a coalition, which is unlikely, then and only then will he put a question to the country which, given current polling, looks like we will probably vote to stay within Europe. And that referendum will be perhaps 2 years after the election that he probably won't win. If you happened to be playing another round of the Lazy Logic Bigot Bingo drinking game whilst simultaneously watching the BBC's Parliament channel on Tuesday afternoon this week, you would have got pretty drunk after about half an hour. For being discussed that afternoon was the actually not very thorny issue of same-sex marriage and whether we should have some. And when I say we, I of course mean the gays. I say again, and will continue to say, replace gay with black or any one of the religions that doesn't approve of gay marriage. Now, stop them getting married. Does that sound okay to you? No black people marrying white people? Is that okay? No Jew marrying a Catholic, is that okay? Of course it's not, so why hate on the gays? The debate oscillated wildly between moving stories from gay MPs who spoke eloquently on why they should be the ones to decide whether or not to express their love for another person through marriage, to MPs who really wanted to say, "But I hate the puffs," but weren't brave enough. Instead, they brought reasons and arguments such as it will undermine heterosexual marriage, although they never say how, and I don't like this being forced on us. Well, it isn't. No one is forcing you to marry anyone. And this is a vote in Parliament. It is a democratic action. And of course, the perennial favourite, which starts with a variation on, "Speaking as a Christian," yes, it says in your 2,000-year-old book that God doesn't like the gays. It's not me who hates the gays, it's my God. Oh, grow up. Take some responsibility for your own decisions. Stop blaming your God for the bits of Leviticus you've chosen to remember and the bits that you've chosen to forget, or probably haven't read. Are you wearing a wool suit with a cotton tie? No, it's fine, just asking, no reason. Anyway, despite the protestations of more than half of the Tory party, a couple of Labour MPs and, more shockingly, a Lib Dem or two, the motion passed. Passed the motion. Which I think calls for one of these. And now the bill will move forward into a committee stage, and then will be voted on again, and will go to the House of Lords and be voted on again, and so on and so forth. But this leads me to a question that I genuinely don't know the answer to. Whilst it's merely a symbolic act, the Queen has to sign any legislation in order for it to become law, but she's also head of the Church of England, which is very, very much opposed to same-sex marriage. So my question is, can she refuse to sign it into law?
One won't sign this. My church, within which I am a very big deal, says no.
Some sports results now. Ben Folds, 5, U 2. MC 5, Shed 7. Gang of 4, Funboy 3. Maroon 5, Jurassic 5. L7, Jackson 5. The church that brought you institutionalised sexual abuse of children and the protection of offenders, a rather fervent dislike of contraception, the idea that life starts at conception, and
every sperm is sacred, every sperm is great. If a sperm is wasted, God gets quite irate.
Has defended itself in an American court by saying the twins, carried by Laurie Stodghill for 7 months, were not people. Well, that is a turn-up for the books. They've always seemed so sure, you know, with the placards outside family planning centres and the murdering of doctors who have performed abortions. Jeremy Stoghill is suing St Thomas More Hospital in Cannon City, which is owned and run by Catholic Health Initiatives. This follows the death of his wife Laurie, who was 7 months pregnant at the time with twins. The 31-year-old died of a pulmonary embolus on New Year's Day 2006. Mr Stoghill's case is based on the fact that staff made no effort to perform a caesarean section. Whilst this would not have saved his wife, it probably would have saved the couple's as yet unborn twins. Catholic Health Initiatives, according to its promotional literature, is run to, quote, nurture the healing ministry of the Church, end quote, and to be guided by, quote, fidelity to the gospel, end quote. Towards those ends, Catholic health facilities seek to follow the ethical and religious directives of the Catholic Church, authored by the US Conference of Catholic Bishops. Jason Langley, an attorney for Devon-based Kennedy Childs, who are defending Catholic health initiatives, argued in one of the briefs he filed the court, quote, should not overturn the long-standing rule in Colorado that the term person, as used in the Wrongful Death Act, encompasses only individuals born alive. Colorado state courts define person under the Act to include only those born alive. Therefore, plaintiffs cannot maintain wrongful death claims based on 2 unborn fetuses. End quote. Well, that puts a very different complexion on a great many things. The God of the Catholics sent immediate punishment upon them and made a very visible sign. Living in England, I have never considered the seagull to be anything other than a noisy nuisance. I have never thought that it may be doing the work of a vengeful God that I do not believe in. I may now have to reappraise my opinion. And so it came to pass that they had so offended their God that when his representative on earth, known to you as Pope Thingy-the-What's-it, released a traditional white dove during the Vatican's annual Caravan of Peace from a balcony in St. Peter's Square, punishment was meted out Old Testament style. Not with a plague or a shower of frogs, but as the beautiful white dove began to soar above the admiring crowd. It was attacked by a seagull. Whilst giving evidence to the Commons Science and Technology Committee, Professor Dame Sally Davis, England's chief medical officer, said that homeopathy was, and please excuse me for a while whilst I pause for a minute to make sure that I get this quote absolutely correct, said that homeopathy was, quote, rubbish, end quote. She went on to say that she was, quote, perpetually surprised, end quote, homeopathy was provided on the NHS, as we all are, and she branded homeopaths, quote, peddlers, end quote. Good for her. Is this a good time for a quick reminder of what homeopathy is? I think so. It is not herbal medicine, at least that has some active ingredients in it. Basically, it's 2 theories. However much quacks try to science it up, it boils down to the law of similars, or like cures like, and the one about cereal dilutions and bashing the diluted stuff on something thick and leathery, such as an overturned homeopath, or originally a Bible, but the quacks seem to have forgotten about the religion bit, and then dilute it again and then bash it again, increases the healing power, magically. Hay fever gives you a runny nose and streaming eyes. What else does that? Ooh, an onion. So what I'll do is, I'll take a drop of onion juice, dilute the fucker, and look! Magic water. Ka-ching! The story was picked up by many of the UK's national papers. The Telegraph, for instance, ran it, and their comment section was visited by noted liar, I'm sorry, I meant homeopath, those words are so interchangeable, Dr. Nancy Malek, who linked to articles written by her on her website to show that water has a memory, so I'm sure that they were reliable. The Daily Mail's comment section also exploded into life, filled with people who have more money than sense, and who didn't really have anything wrong with them in the first place. The usual tropes, such as, well, it worked for me, and it works on children and animals, and the placebo effect doesn't work on them, so it can't be the placebo effect, so it definitely works, style comments filled the pages. And of course, the placebo effect doesn't work on them. But it does work on the parent, vet or pet owner who brings their expectations and financial outlay with them. Whilst we are talking about the cat litter tray-lining waste of dead trees that is the Daily Mail, they excelled themselves last week. To quote from the Media Watch blog, there is a link on our website, quote, the Daily Mail's questionable interest in young girls has been well documented, but even by its own uncomfortably low standards, the Mail Online has turned the creepiness up a notch today with a story about Heidi Klum's 8-year-old daughter, who the Mail thinks is a leggy beauty, end quote. All a bit creepy uncle, or as the young say, a bit savile. But then they did it again. The paper, which is trying to run a campaign against internet pornography, I'm assuming this is so that they are the only source of semi-naked ladies on the interwebs, and the sexualisation of young girls, ran a photo story about Ariel Winter, I don't know who she is, who, as they put it, quote, celebrated her 15th birthday by attending a red carpet event, end quote. So far, so unremarkable. The problem comes when they used their creepiest of all the phrases. They said she looked all grown up. Yes, she's a 15-year-old girl, but you'd never tell. That's right, a 15-year-old girl, still below the legal age of consent in this country, paraded as if she was a grown-up. I'm sorry, my lud, but she looked like she was old enough. And look at the way she was dressed. She's clearly asking for it. Some late-breaking scores in generic American sport now. Level 42, Blink 182. Some 41, UB 40. A tight game, that one there. Well, that's all we have time for today, so thanks for listening and have a great rest of day.
The Daughters to Online Radio Company is written by Martin Norris, produced by Martin Norris, and recorded in the front room of a house owned by Martin Norris. Please do feel free to give us a good review on iTunes, or Twitter and Facebook your friends to tell them about us. Thank you.